Today, with the board going directly into executive session under the following Oregon Revised Statute, ORS 192.6602D, to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. It is now 6:02 p.m. and we are reconvening our meeting with the public session, which is a business session. We have, I believe, most board members present. One may be joining online in a minute here. Director Salazar should be joining us shortly. Okay, so next up we have our land acknowledgement, and we've asked our student advisor, Raylan Brennan, to read the land acknowledgement this evening.
We are gathered here today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day. We offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. Now we respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous people.
Thank you, Raylan. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 3C is agenda modifications, and I do not believe there are any agenda modifications this evening. And so that will take us to number 4, our Spotlight on Success, and I am going to turn this agenda item over to Superintendent Perry.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to see you here. Our first spotlight is our community spotlight and is going to be presented by Melissa Glover, our Director of Student Services. Welcome back, Melissa. And I believe Aaron might have a video or something too at some point. Yeah.
Do they have to hold the mic down?
And you have to hold the mic down when you speak.
The button.
The button. Thank you.
I've done this a couple times now.
Okay, I don't even have to prompt you on the.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair Carson Cottingham, board directors, student advisors, and Superintendent Perry. Tonight, I would like to recognize an incredible community partner, the Salem Family YMCA, for graciously opening their doors to our special education department. Tonight, I have with me, you guys are so far away. Jordan Blake, Facilities and Events Director, Amy Swing, Aquatics Coordinator, Jessica Ochen, Resource Development Director, and Amanda Herbold, Human Resources Director. So we were able to relaunch our physical therapy swim program this year that unfortunately ended a few years ago when we lost our community space for the program. Jordan, with the YMCA, who's been an advocate and a strong supporter for programming for students with disabilities, reached out to us to offer the swim space to kickstart this opportunity again for our students and families. Swimming is an amazing physical therapy opportunity for students with orthopedic and physical disabilities. It allows for a different type of gross motor activity that's fun and effective in meeting the needs of students. It also allows students to come together from across our 65 schools once a week for an activity that they may not have experienced at this level before or outside of this program. The YMCA has given our students the opportunity to engage in an activity that is rarely available to school-age children as a part of their school day and in a way that allows families to participate along with their child and connect with resources that benefit the whole family. We believe this program not only impacts students, but it also impacts the YMCA staff and other visitors who interact with our students. They're able to experience the joys that our students bring to an inclusive community environment. We're very grateful for the passion and advocacy that Jordan and his team display for a population of students that often face barriers in accessing programs, facilities, and activities. Thank you to the YMCA team for initiating the swim program partnership that's so beneficial for our students. It's hard to put into words how truly impactful a program like this is for students, families, and our entire community. And I hear there's a video.
There is a video.
The swim program is a partnership
Oh, I love the sound.
between Salem-Keizer and the swim program is a partnership between Salem-Keizer and the YMCA, and it's a program that dates back for over 30 years. And the program itself supports students who have significant physical needs throughout the district. We work closely with our physical therapists to identify students that we think would benefit from the program. And the physical therapists actually go to the YMCA with the students and have a variety of lessons and different activities that they work on with the kids.
This program is my favorite part of my job. It's such an uplifting experience to see kids enjoy playing in the water, enjoying being with other kids. We do a variety of warm-ups and just kind of getting oriented to the pool water and get warming up. We work on a lot of breath support and safety skills around being able to control the breath in the water.
Each student has specific exercises or routines that we set up and look at to try and target some of those skills that we're working on. We have a couple students that use a power wheelchair and they can move their hand to move themselves around in a power wheelchair, but really can't reach and grasp and can't participate in a PE activity where in the water they can move their arms freely and we can improve their flexibility, and that's more the target.
I think it gives families a lot of hope that there's opportunities for their children to enjoy movement, enjoy being with kids that are similar to themselves, and an opportunity to have some type of recreation that will last them their lifetime.
The one thing that I love about the program is that it brings together students that may be isolated at a school, and the opportunity for them to see each other and to know that, hey, there's another kid that's in a wheelchair that's sort of like me.
I can say as a special education administrator and a former teacher that just being present at the swim program is one of the most touching and powerful things that you see in terms of the ways that we're actually able to get involved, work with kids, and have them develop really meaningful and encouraging experiences.
I am just utterly grateful that we've had the support of the school district and the YMCA, so we've been able to get our pool program up and running again this year. It took a coordinated effort on a part of our entire PT team and our administrators and the folks at the YMCA to believe in the program and to work together to see it get started. And I hope it continues.
Should we do this now, or should we wait till the... Yeah, let's do a quick picture now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, please. Push the button.
Yeah, there we go.
We're grateful to be a part of it. We thank you guys for the spotlight and the community for giving to us and donating so it can all be possible.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, let's do that. I like this. Okay, I'm worried. See ya. ¿Más para dónde? Just like find your... Oh, how you doing, Maria? I'm good. Oh, we just stayed on this side. Is that okay?
All right, let's see. One, Melissa's ready. All right, 1, 2, 3. One more here. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Did I cover you? Thank you.
Ah, está muy chaparrita.
All right, our next spotlight is construction services, and it will be, this spotlight will be presented by Bob Silva, our Chief Operations Officer. And here they are, coming on in. Yeah, let's do it. Then we'll give them their certificate over there. All right, Mr. Silva.
Good evening, Chair Carson Cottingham, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Perry. Here with me tonight are staff from the Construction Services team out of Facilities. Construction Services has managed over $650 million in bond projects over the last 4.5 years, delivering dozens of new teaching spaces, several new cafeterias, seismic strengthening of many buildings, countless safety and security improvements, HVAC improvements, and many other renovations to improve district facilities, to enhance student and staff experiences, and to promote the district's strategic plan and mission. I'm going to slow down for ASL. Always forget at the last minute. Additionally, they manage hundreds of smaller projects across the district each year that are funded outside of the bond. The pace of the 2018 bond program delivery has been aggressive by industry standards, and the team has stepped up to the challenge. The construction team has faced many challenges that have required them to think and work differently than ever before in a changing construction industry. You've probably heard supply chain issues. So the improvements and expansions to many buildings have had many positive impacts to students. Many buildings have never had a cafeteria or have been forced into running multiple different lunch periods because of the size. All schools now have cafeterias. Middle schools and high schools were lacking in true science classrooms. This issue has also been resolved by renovating those spaces or by building many new science classrooms. These are just two of literally hundreds of ways this team and the 2018 bond program have impacted the district. Construction Services started out the design process for every site by inviting a group of building staff to be involved with the process. Efforts were made to be sure to involve staff at all levels, many who were directly impacted by the plan and many that were not as directly impacted. Several of the high school design teams also included student input. This team has done amazing things and work for our district over the last 4.5 years, and I want to thank you for all of your hard work.
All right, you have to have a picture. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
Up here in front.
This time I'm going around. I'm staying. I have this one. I'm staying back here.
Yeah. Stand on your chair.
I think we're gonna get on chairs. Are we hopping on chairs?
You're not tall enough?
I'm not tall enough. Find your window. I'm just gonna squeeze here. We're good.
All right. Christy, you have to be sorry, Kyle, Ashley.
There we go.
All right. On three, 1, 2, 3. One more week. Okay. On three, 1, 2, 3, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just right away. Get out of here.
It's not anything fun. It's just, thank you. Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
I had a good idea like a week ago on a fun story, but it's totally gone. Y'all come up with one for me.
Isaac wears shorts, I'm wearing shorts.
All right, that's the last of our spotlights for this evening.
Okay, great. That takes us to reports and presentations. Superintendent Perry.
All right, so for the superintendent's report tonight, we're going to start by highlighting some of our amazing artists. And so Aaron is going to take the first part of the superintendent's report. And if we could have the student, how about the student, as you give them and show them the art, they'll come forward and then we'll get a group picture. But we have some amazingly talented artists, so it was a hard decision. All right, Aaron, you're on.
All right, thank you. So a little bit, I'll talk about the logo inspiration contest first, and then we'll call up the students and get that picture. So in March, as you may recall, it was Youth Art Month, and the district invited students to participate in a school district Logo Inspiration Contest. The communications department has been looking at our current brand elements and just trying to see how we might reimagine and revision the district brand. So we asked students for a design that reflects the richness and diversity of our students and our staff here at Salem-Keizer. We received about 80 entries from students across the district, which was great, but it made it really hard to just pick a few people to recognize. So staff and the board were invited to help with that selection process. So we had kind of 2 from each grade level, ended up with 8 winners, which was great. And so today we invited our finalists or winners so we could recognize them and thank them for their participation. So I'm going to show the art and on the slides and multitask.
Yeah.
So if you hear your name, go ahead, head up toward the front. And I think once everyone's up there, we'll grab a picture. Does that sound right?
That sounds perfect.
Okay. So we have Amelia from Candelaria, Ritik from Pringle. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get that corrected, but please go up. Okay, we have Lucy from Whitaker and Eva from Edge. Evelyn from McNary and Darinka from CTEC. And then we have Zoe and Kyle, both from the Summit CTP Community Transition Program.
Should we go in front of this one?
Board directors will hold the remaining. Okay. And we'll do 2 pictures here. So 1, 2, 3. Go. 1, 2, 3. Great. I don't know, family members, do you get your pictures? So.
Great moment.
We'll give this to the kids. I know it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I know school board meetings are fascinating, and you're welcome to stay. Of course, you're welcome, but you're also welcome to go. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for
you.
being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, the next portion of the superintendent's report tonight is the safe and welcoming schools. So, Erin, oh, I'm sorry. No, there was one more thing before. Okay, let me do this one. All right, so first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight a new resource in the both for the school district and our students and their families. It's called Care Solace, and we have initiated a contract with Care Solace that gives us mental health kind of coordination. It's a mental health care coordination service on a mission, and it's to ensure that every person with mental health or substance abuse challenges can quickly find the quality care matched to their unique needs, regardless of their circumstances. It's instant access to community-based care with added layers of support. So somebody can call in, they received a warm handoff to a care companion to a care match. And it's available for staff, students, and their families. And I think the next slide might even have, you can see it's 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, a place to call now. And again, it's open to students, staff, and their families. We're trying to, for this month, promote that it is okay to ask for help. And this is one way we can provide service to our community and our families in order to help them navigate the care they need. This QR code will be in the slideshow on our website, and we'll start pushing this out after tonight as well. So with that, now I'm going to turn it over to Safe and Welcoming Schools. All right, Dr. Udosnata, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair Carson Cottingham, directors of the board, Superintendent Perry, and student advisors. I do have a Safe and Welcoming Schools Advisory Committee update. SWIZAC is what Chris Baldridge called it, and I'm not sure that that's going to stick, but I want to throw it out there for you all to weigh in. So
let's have a contest.
We should have
when students should.
We can take a picture at the winner.
Yeah.
Okay, so to that end, we had our second SWIZAC meeting, and it was our first a meeting outside of the retreat. We had pretty good attendance, but a few people weren't there. But nonetheless, we did have a very good meeting. It was a meeting where we focused on safety systems, especially our physical safety systems and our social emotional learning, mental health, and safety systems as well. And in that, we focused a lot on our data. And so one thing that we did is we want to share that we wanted to match our storytelling that we're doing and our proactive work. So being proactive, being fluid, and having systems with the data, right? So for this specific meeting, what we focused on was those two areas, social emotional learning and safety systems. But for now, what I want to share with you is some of the data that we reviewed just for the social emotional learning that Director Chris Moore presented to us. So if we can go to the next slide. There's a familiar graphic that I just wanted to share with you. Before we get going, this is something that I think is really important when we tell the story of safe schools and the wraparound supports that we have. It's the acronym of HEART, and that's this idea of showing up with a holistic approach, equitable in how we center our work, accessible to all students and staff, and providing the right supports at the right time, and that the work that we do has a transformative impact on others. Next slide, please. Thank you. Something else that I want to share is I want to call attention to this data metric, and it's the amount of wraparound supports that we have in our schools right now. And I'm not going to go into detail about what they do, but I'll just say that it's very important to us that at every school we have a counselor that can support students with their needs that counselors support with, and that we also have wraparound supports, be it a social worker in buildings or having a community CSOC, which is a community school outreach coordinator. And our community resource specialists as well. So, and school psychologists, all of them play a crucial role in making sure that students have what they need so that they can be at school and learn and also feel welcome. Next slide, please. This is some familiar data for you, and then we're going to share some new data for you as well in our panorama data. So this is, again, just not even data. It's our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 approaches. And it's just it's what we shared with the committee, and is to underscore all the things that we do. And this is just from our social, emotional, and psychological safety standpoint. So that's everything from having in the offices of equity, access, advancement, doing advocacy work for students and the advisory work that we do in classes, to some of our more intensive Tier 3 supports that we do with social workers. Next slide, please. And so with the committee, what we did is we talked a lot about what key KPIs are, the key performance indicators. That's something that we talk a lot about in the boardroom, but not all of our committee members knew what that was. So we talked about that, and then we launched into our panorama data. Next slide, please. And it's a little blurry, so I will illustrate what this shares. So for the panorama data, just real quickly, the panorama, what it does is it's an instrument or a survey that we give twice a year. We give it in the fall and we give it in the spring. And the intention is to elevate student voice on climate, teaching and learning, relationships, and belonging, sense of belonging. And we really use this panorama data to inform how we're doing as a district and how we're growing. But also we use it to inform where we might need to adjust resources based on what student needs are. Also, I want to mention that staff members take the panorama survey as well. So what you're looking at right now is data that compares the district responses to years past, and that's on the left-hand side. And then it also compares us to how we rank in a nationally normed survey. So for 3rd and 5th graders, for instance, on the top graph that you'll see is how 3rd and 5th graders are doing in terms of sense of belonging. And you'll see a little parentheses, and that represents the percentage change. So for teacher-student relationships, there's a 71% favorable indicator there in our panorama data, and that we're down 2% for our student, for how our 3rd and 5th graders responded. For school safety, you'll see that there's 62% on how students feel, and we're up 1%. And for sense of belonging, we're at 62%, and you'll see that nationally we're in the 70th percentile. If you go down to our 6th through 12th grade, so our secondary level, we have a one different metric in there, so it's the rigorous expectations, but you'll see that there was growth in school safety to 60%, and we're in the 60th percentile, and that for our rigorous expectations is 55%, no growth or loss. Teacher-student relationships, 50%, and for sense of belonging, it's 33%. And something that's interesting that I want to share with the board and that we discussed in our meeting was that we are in the 60th percentile when it comes to feeling physically safe in school, but we are in the 10th percentile when it comes to sense of belonging. So we have a lot of questions that we need to ask, and there's a lot of follow-up that needs to be done in that area. So that might be an example of something that our Safe and Welcoming Schools Advisory Committee would attack and try to find a solution to, or give advice to advise the superintendent and board on how to move forward at improving systems for a sense of belonging. Next slide, please. This is some of our staff well-being data. And what you'll see here is 58% for belonging. We're up 2. And we didn't have enough of an N score to have it nationally normed. An example of going back to our elementary and secondary data, we had about, I think our third through 5th grade had about a 90% completion rate. And our secondary had a 60 to 70% completion rate. So the not having it nationally percentile means that we might not have had enough people take the survey. Sense of well-being is 57%, and you'll see staff relationships, and this indicator was actually in relation to how easily staff are able to form relationships with other staff members, and this is really specific to the pandemic when people were working from home. But nonetheless, we're up 12%, which is a good sign. Maybe it's a sign that people are having more opportunities to connect with each other. Maybe it's from our wellness activities. Next slide, and this is the last graph that I'll show you, or data that I'll show you. This is a graph that shows deviance gaps, so positive deviation or negative deviation when it comes to our district averages. So you'll see that our 6th grade students are plus 10. Our students receiving special services that are designated as autistic are plus 9, which is a positive. So these are points of celebration. Our AVID Excel students, so those are our AVID students that are receiving language acquisition services within that program, are plus 7. Our Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander students are plus 7, and students designated as ELL are plus 6 when it comes to that sense of belonging. And then if you go over to areas where we have a deficit or need more growth, it's with our special education designated students for emotional and behavior disabilities. It's minus 7, and then our non-binary students, which is minus 18. Again, this will provoke a lot of conversation for what work we can do to improve in some of these areas, and also how we can tell the story of all the students that are represented in this data. So last couple slides here, I just want to share some of the very important supports and strategies that we're using. And I'm not going to read these all to you. I'm just going to point to one that I think we're very proud of, which is that we have 11 contracted clinicians, 8 bilingual in Spanish, and 7 of them are bilingual bicultural, who support I think right now, our secondary schools. And those schools are, actually North, McKay, South, and Bick. So we're very happy and pleased that we're able to provide those services and are looking to see how we could continue to grow those services. And then for the last slide, this is just, we just talked about Care Solace, but this is just a list of mental health supports and systems that we offer or are implementing within our schools. Again, they're I think things that people in our advisory committee weren't aware of, that we just want to show them the vast number of services and ways that we are trying to take care of students and staff. And then go to the last slide, please. We're going to end with a quote from Dr. Dina Simmons, and this is, "Every child deserves an education that guarantees the safety to learn in the comfort of one's own skin." And again, with our Safe and Welcoming Schools Advisory Committee, our goal was to share data and then connect why that data is important, or draw a connection point to that data, whether it was through the narrative of a student's experience or the mission of our district. And I think that this quote captures that. And then finally, just some nuts and bolts on where we're going. Looking ahead, we have a meeting coming up on the 24th. We'll talk about fluidity, and that's our ability to be responsive. And then on the 31st, we'll talk about how we can be proactive, and then we'll have schedule our fall retreat, which we hope is in August. And something that I mentioned early on in this presentation is around our data subcommittee. We introduced this idea of a data subcommittee. We know it's important for us to have metrics for both an accountability standpoint, but also for us to be able to make important decisions on and be able to advise our district on how we can move forward. And so we put out an invitation for those that were interested on the committee to be part of the subcommittee. And one thing that we're going to do is bring data reports to this the board frequently. So for next week, the next meeting on the 24th, we're going to look at our Safe Oregon data, and then our discipline data, and continue to look at our panorama data as our spring. We're going to be wrapping up our spring panorama survey data collection. And that's all I have for you. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. Thank you so much. This is really awesome update from this work group. I appreciate it, Assistant Superintendent Udos-Nata. Obviously, I think we're probably all alarmed at the sense of belonging from 6th to 12th grade. We know those can be difficult years as you transition to middle school and into high school. And so my first question is just, in the group, what types of, or did you have a chance to talk about some of the root causes, or what does that discussion look like? And did any ideas, I know you said you'd be bringing back more sort of actionable ideas, but I'm just curious how that discussion went.
We didn't go deep on what the root cause was. What we actually did is comms helped us out, and we did a thought exchange where we had some prompts around what does it look like to have a sense of belonging, or what did this data, what questions did it provoke? And we had about 3 or 4 question prompts. Director Guzman Ortiz was present. And do you recall some of those ones that we had off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot. Okay, forget I even asked. So to that extent, though, what we did do is we asked questions, and I was thinking about bringing it to this presentation. I can bring it next time.
Yeah,
but
that works.
we'll get deeper in the conversations about root cause, and also we'll disaggregate the data a little bit more next time we look at the spring panorama data.
Okay, thank you. And I think, yeah, when you break it down here to show the figure 12, I don't know what slide I'm on, but just looking at that huge decline in sense of belonging for our non-binary kids and youth is really worrisome to me, I'm sure to the rest of the board as well. And so just want all of those kids and youth to know that we see them and we support them, and hope we can have some real sense of urgency around an action plan for those kids, because that's just a big decline, and I want them to feel supported.
Yeah, this was concerning, and one thing that I wanted to call out was that's where our national percentile is important, because that's an indicator that we can get better, right? And we know that other districts are doing it in a way where there's a higher sense of belonging. And so I think there's a lot that we can glean from research that's out there, and from also networking with other districts to see what they're doing to work that's working.
Great, thank you. Other comments, questions? Isaac?
Yeah, 2 questions. The first one is on the innovation and mental health support strategy. No, not that one. Yeah, well, the slide where you listed out all the resources that the district has, do we have the numbers on the amount of people that are using the different ones, whether that's students or staff? Because, I mean, I don't, this could just be me, but I don't hear like these names circulated much among students. So I want to make sure that we're doing a good job making sure students have access and know that these are available, because I know a lot of these are very valuable.
I don't have that data, but I'll talk to our director of social emotional learning and mental health, or behavioral health. That's Chris Moore. And what we'll try to do is, even if we don't have a tracking system for all of those, be able to share back what some of the impact is for that as well.
Yeah, and then my second question is, has there been any talk amongst the Safe and Welcoming Schools Committee, just because that, like Ashley mentioned, the chair, Carson Cottingham, mentioned like that number is so striking. Has there been any consideration about doing like a special outreach to non-binary students in our district so we can really get good qualitative data on like the kind of experiences that they are having? So I don't know if has there been any conversations around that?
There have, but not in that setting. So we work with our Office of Student Equity Access Advancement. We also have advisory committees, or student. I think you're on a student committee. So we, and then we also try to work through our advisory classes as well to elevate students' sense of social emotional learning, and also be able to share what some of our services are, so students have signs to get support where they need support. And it also shows that we need to do more work around just creating a welcoming environment so students know where to go to continue to get support. One thing that I wanted to share about the advisory committee work that we did on the most recent meeting on the 16th is that we had a certain amount of time. We didn't unpack all the data. That's something that we're really going to do in our summer retreat in August. Our purpose was in this meeting was to communicate all the data that we collect and the ways that data functions. We also did share a little bit of data that as a district that we collect, and also we talked about it was about systems, and we talked about systems that how our communication team gets involved with some of the work that we do when we're collecting data as well. And so to that end, we intentionally didn't go too deep on asking questions in the data because it was really about showing them the systems that we have in place, and then we collected some information through the thought exchange.
I have the questions. That was me, sorry.
You threw your voice.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was like, I found the questions from the thought.
Oh, you
exchange.
actually have the questions. Yeah,
Yes,
please share.
That's what it was.
I thought you had a question. I thought like a question just jumped out and you were ready.
You're like, someone's talking to me. And I just wanted to kind of pay, and share those questions, because to that piece of getting an opportunity to share for the following 3 questions. For safe and welcoming schools, what are the core strengths of systems in Salem-Keizer Public Schools based on the data that we reviewed? What do safe and welcoming systems look like to you as a member of the committee, based right from like the purview that we have? And then the third that I was able to capture was for safe and welcoming schools, what are the opportunities within systems in Salem-Keizer Public Schools? So again, going off of the data. And I know we got to share data in a very neat app, and I hadn't used before. I really enjoyed it as someone who does quite a bit of community engagement within my work. So I'm excited to kind of be able to dissect that and look at, what does the committee want to do, and what are they prioritizing, and what do we already see some alignment in. So thank you.
Dr. Chandragiri?
Yeah. The questions that the 2 of you asked kind of made me think, the panorama is a survey, so it's probably helpful for us to, if possible, because right now students are not there in our committee. So if there is a way to have like a little focus group to unpack that question of sense of belonging, that will kind of give us a little bit more qualitative sense of what exactly those numbers add up to. I just on a side note, I had a chance to sit in a 2-hour, like a little meeting with some children from Pacific Islands, mostly Chukis and Marshallies. And so one of the things that they said struck me. It's almost like I feel like in a stranger's home. When this, like the summary of what they're saying, they feel that other students are better than them and they don't fit in. I mean, that's the way they try to explain to me. They said, and that's a very collective society, so they tend to stick together. And sometimes when there are 1 or 2 students in a big school, they feel like in a stranger's home, and they constantly think what others think about them or what they have in their home. Yet, for some reason, they have not got an opportunity to interact or mix with others at a little bit more deeper level to see that, okay, the other kids also kids, they're also kids. And so that part they struggle. So, and when they come home, it doesn't help. So that's the little I could get in that 2 hours. So I was just thinking it'll be nice for us to have like a focus group, especially when we have numbers like 30% in different categories, right?
One focus or one task that the Safe and Welcoming Schools Advisory Group is going to take on is having a proactive aspect. And part of that proactive aspect is actually setting up a platform. It could be through working with our communications team to share, to connect the data to the actual story that's going on. And that can be to create awareness as one way that we can try to do it, or to say, did you know? And that's where we could attend to the question that Student Advisor McDonald raised, where we can say, did you know that we offer this service, and this service? And so it's an outward-facing aspect of the Safe and Welcoming Schools Advisory Committee, and finding the proper platform so that we give the community and schools the right information they need at the right time, right? And so, and part of that would also be maybe potentially doing a podcast or using our communications system to, again, be sharing the stories like the one that you just shared, Director Chandragiri.
Well, I think one thing I learned in this community is they prefer to sit face to face, heart to heart, And somehow if we use this digital means to reach them, I found that they're not as forthcoming in terms of sharing in a digital platform as opposed to just sitting down and once they get to know, and then it took 4 visits with that group, and that's how I found in this group. I'm not saying that's the same answer for others. I haven't tried.
Sounds like a fantastic
Yeah.
strategy to brainstorm at our next meeting on the 24th.
Thank you. Director Salazar, I hear that you have your hand raised, although we can't see you.
Yes, I do. Thank you. As has already been preceded with the concerns with the 20% belonging, I do have that concern, and especially at the rate that it is not being improved upon. And I think one of the things, and you only have to put up with me for 2 more months on this, but I feel that there's an elephant sitting in the room that nobody has addressed. And as you look at that, it's the students, K-6, that sense of belonging is there because the teachers relate to them better. And in my experience, and I don't want to be too hard on them because there's some great 6 through 12 teachers, but as a whole, there has to be some type of a cohort that addresses those teachers who have to reach out to those students. You can put a focus group in there, and that focus group will focus on those students, and then they will only relate to those people that they feel are really, truly interested in helping them. But if you have a focus across the buildings, across those staff, that's what needs to happen. There has to be something to bring some more empathy from those high school teachers and middle school teachers. And I'm not saying I'm not going to say it across the board that it's, as a whole, but more of them need to be more empathetic and reaching out to those students so that they feel belonging. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it seems that there's probably a big correlation between staff well-being and student perception of well-being too. So it'll be really interesting to hear what the group comes up with. It looks like we're trending in the right direction for our staff and their well-being, but still pretty low. And so I think it's probably safe to say we all want to make sure the staff of the district feel seen, heard, and well in their jobs. So look forward to the strategies.
Thank you. And just one thing that I do want to share is I spend a lot of time in the schools, and I talk to a lot of teachers, and our teachers have nothing but the highest level of positive regard for our students. There's 6 through 12. There's a lot going on with kids. There's a lot going on in the community, and we look forward to partnering with our teachers and working with this committee to see what we can unpack and what we can do to really elevate the experience of students in our school and make sure that number goes up.
Thank you. Isaac.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question going back like 4 questions, just really quick. You mentioned the advisory classes as an avenue for kind of getting this all out. And so this is not something that I think we have time to unpack right now. And I'm not sure if you're the point person on this, but definitely it's the number one like question mark that students have, like what are we doing here kind of thing. And so I would be personally curious if somebody could kind of give me like the broader idea of advisory, because I think it's very well intentioned, but it doesn't always trickle down and play out that way. So especially going into next year, I think there's a lot of work we can do, and I think that's a lot at the school level, and then also a lot at the district level. Like how can we make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of what that needs? And then just to Director Salazar's point, I actually think that's a really important point in terms of the role teachers can play. And I think it's from what I've seen in my experience at school is there's been a shift since the pandemic in student needs in the classroom. And there are a lot of teachers who are, I think, trying very hard, and a lot of teachers who are doing really well in meeting those needs, and those needs, I think, are more interpersonal, and it's not that you can just be an instructional person, you need to be like a mentor as well. But I think there is also a group of teachers who has some resistance to that, who maybe views it as a burden or as a responsibility that they didn't sign up for in terms of having to see students and have a relationship with each one of their students. And so I do want to I do want to almost echo that because I think it is a really important point, and I think it's a very difficult thing to address, and it's not really anybody's fault, but it's, I think, a shift that's happening, and I think it is really important to recognize.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. Turn it back over to you, Superintendent Perry.
Yeah, that was the last of the superintendent's report tonight. I'll make some comments at the end when we get to the data report, just a couple highlights from that.
Okay, great. We are going to take a break. Let's do 10 minutes. So we'll come back just a little after 7. Okay, that takes us to number 6 on our agenda, which is public comment. We have selected speakers for our online and call-in portion at random. We do have one person that has signed up for in-person public comment this evening. Each participant has 3 minutes. Electronic mechanisms are used for translation. We have a countdown timer that we will see on the screen. The timer counts down from 3 minutes. At 30 seconds, it turns from green to yellow, and at 1 second, it turns red and plays a short bell to signal that time is up. Please be mindful of your pace for our interpreters. The board did receive written comment ahead of the meeting, and the written comment is posted on the district website. Tonight, we have 4 people who've signed up, and we are going to start with our in-person person. So, Erin, please bring that person in.
This is our first in-person public comment in a long time.
Welcome. Yay.
So you were like
a brave soul.
You're going to have to press the button too, right there. Yep.
So, good evening, Chair Carson Cottingham, Superintendent Perry, and members of the board. My name is Abigail Eckhart, and for those of you who haven't met me before, I wanted to just speak on a few things to approve the Teacher Appreciation Proclamation, but I also wanted to throw in there that I feel like our teachers deserve a raise of some kind. I feel like our teachers work really hard. I know one of my child's teachers works a full-time job on top of teaching. And I feel like that's something that shouldn't be happening for our teachers. They should be making what they need to live with their job of just teaching. And I feel like we really need to deal with some of the behavior issues that are going on that our teachers have brought to your attention. I also wanted to talk about the climate proclamation and just the proclamations in general. I sent an email a couple weeks back about being a part of the equity committee and how I feel like we make a lot of these proclamations and a lot of these statements, but are we actually doing something that is affecting change? And so I feel like we can say all these things and say all the right buzzwords, but is it translating to like actually doing something and making an impact in the lives of our children? So I would ask the board to focus more on doing actual work as opposed to just simply making proclamations. I also wanted to talk about the closed school board meetings. Obviously, I'm here in person, but I'm the only person here. It's because parents are feeling so shut out that they've given up on addressing the board and the superintendent and other members of the district. We feel that we've not been heard. Obviously, there had been security concerns in the past. I don't see those concerns today. Obviously, I'm the only person here, so I don't believe I'm a threat to the school board or to the superintendent. I have talked to dozens of parents recently who are dealing with bullying that's been going completely ignored by their school principal to the point of this is like actually sexual harassment that's happening to students in high schools. And I can't actually go into detail because it would be too personal, but the other thing I want to talk about, obviously, is school safety. We're all very concerned about what's going on in our world today. There's been several school shootings in the last couple of months that are very concerning. We had a shooting down the street from my child's school a couple of weeks ago, and that freaked all of us out. We didn't have enough information from the school or from what was going on to feel that our kids were safe. I was worried because I heard that our school was not locked down. I obviously spoke with Mr. Baldridge out in the waiting area over there, and he explained why it wasn't shut down. But it would be nice to hear from the school or the district itself, like, why are those things like not happening? That way it gives us a little bit more of assurance that our kids actually are safe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I had set the timer too because the one up there wasn't on. Okay, we can call up the next person on Zoom.
Our first speaker tonight is Tyler.
Great. Welcome, Tyler. Hi.
Good evening, board chairs, directors, student advisors, and Superintendent Perry. I am Tyler Stoll-Lakeford, the president of Salem-Keizer Education Association, speaking to our 2,700 plus licensed educators regarding the Teacher Appreciation Proclamation. Thank you to all of our licensed educators for making it through another difficult post-COVID year. We recognize that public education remains difficult. We are still experiencing students with learning gaps due to COVID, students dealing with stress, trauma, unregulated behaviors, phone addiction, and of course, TikTok obsession. And yet you continue to show up and do your best. You work tirelessly every day to provide the best you can for your students. Thank you. We're almost done with this year, but what comes next? As we look ahead, we need to rethink many practices. The shortages will continue, and students will continue to come in with challenging needs. Public education is the great equalizer, but our schools need help. In today's Statesman Journal, there was an article that highlighted 14 states that are considering legislation that would increase starting teacher pay to a $60,000 a year minimum. During this time of teacher appreciation, it is this type of thinking that truly shows how we value educators. In the words of Gable Hascorn, teaching is the essential profession, the one that makes all others possible. What we do as educators is valuable. Teachers do not need a cookie in the break room or a sticker to show appreciation. They need investments in their working conditions, as these are our students' learning conditions. We didn't cause the issues facing public ed across the nation, nor can we solve them all. But as I have said many times, we can rewrite the narrative of Salem-Keizer Schools and make this a district where teachers want to serve and students want to learn. To do this, we need school board and district leaders to partner with us and to listen. Work with us to build a stronger and better district. We have the opportunity to forge a new path for public education in Salem-Keizer Schools. Let's work together for a better future in education. And again, I thank all of our educators for everything that you do. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Thank you, Tyler. And I think we have one more signed up for this evening.
Yes, our next caller is Cassidy.
Cassidy, go ahead when you're ready. Is she there?
She is still there, yes.
Okay. I think that probably need to move on.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Okay, there you go.
Perfect. Little technical difficulties, sorry. Perfect. Okay, good evening, Chair Carson Cottingham, Superintendent Perry, and board directors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Cassidy Trout. I'm a mom of students in the Salem-Keizer District. I would first like to show my support for the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month Proclamation, as well as the Teacher Appreciation Month Proclamation. I feel it is very important to show support for our many diverse communities, as well as our teachers who play such an important role in our children's lives. I, however, do not understand why our district is bringing forth a climate justice resolution. This, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many parents and students I have spoken with, seems very politically motivated, and the language seems to continue down a road of divisiveness. As a district, we must turn our attention away from topics that do not directly correlate with the educational advancement of students in our district. And we must refocus on the main critical problems our students and teachers are facing right now. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but after searching thoroughly, I have not found any proclamations dedicated to literacy or excellence in education made by this board. I have not seen one proclamation that states our district must focus on core subjects of academics. Just 1 out of 3 students are proficient in English. Even fewer are proficient in math. Most teachers do not feel safe, so there's no wonder they are struggling to teach. Where are the proclamations about these problems? Better yet, where are the actions? Let's start there. Let's talk about things that we can actually tackle. And I'm sure you'll hear thanks and support from parents of diverse backgrounds who just are waiting for these problems to be addressed. Thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you to all of our teachers for everything that you do. And I want to second what Abigail said. I think that they all need raises, and they definitely need a lot more appreciation. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Cassidy. All right, that concludes our public comment for this evening and takes us to number 7, which is to interview candidates for student advisor to the school board. So we will have our candidates have joined us either in the room or some on Zoom.
Yeah, I think we have one on Zoom.
One on Zoom, okay.
Yep.
So we have,
Can we just make sure that everyone on Zoom is muted?
Oh, yep.
can we mute manually?
Director Salazar?
Okay, so we have Patrick Hersig Gutierrez, Linda Pappas, and Tierney Pickett. Those are the 3 students who've applied to be student advisor to the school board. They have been asked to be prepared to answer the following question. As a student advisor to the school board, you will represent all students across all our high schools. How will you bring their voice to the board? And I would like to remind everyone that we will be making our decision on who we will appoint as student advisor or advisors at our June meeting. With that, are we doing random order? Okay. Okay, it's been recommended we start with Zoom first. I can't see names, so I'm flying blind here.
Yeah, I think Patrick. There's Patrick.
Welcome.
Hi there.
Hi. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi there. Okay, ready. Well, to answer the question, I would like to begin by first stating that I believe it's important for me to ensure that all student voices are heard and represented. I believe that it's crucial to hear from students directly about their experiences and concerns in order to make informed decisions that benefit all students. One way that I would assure that all student voices are brought to the school board would be through working closely with student-led organizations and clubs, such as the Latino club that I co-lead at South, to gather feedback and ideas from diverse student populations. I believe that it's important to engage with students from different backgrounds and experiences in order to have a more holistic understanding of the issues facing our school district. To do this, I will seek out and connect with student leaders from unrepresented communities and work to create opportunities for their voices to be heard. By collaborating with these groups, I can ensure that their perspectives are taken into account and their voices are heard. I recognize that some students may not feel comfortable speaking out publicly or may face barriers to participating in traditional forms of student feedback, such as language barriers, for example. As a Latino immigrant, I understand the struggle of having language as a barrier to speak out about an issue or perhaps a concern that I myself face. In order to eliminate such barriers, I plan to provide alternative feedback channels such as anonymous surveys or even online discussion boards that are directed in Spanish, Arabic, Chuukese, Marshallese, and Russian, which are languages that the Salem-Keizer School District possesses within the community. This would allow students who are unheard to express themselves and to share their thoughts on concerns which would eliminate language barriers within the district. Overall, my approach to representing all student voices to the school board is grounded in inclusivity, collaboration, and accessibility. By actively seeking out and valuing inputs from different diverse student populations, I believe that we can create a more equitable and responsive educational environment for all students in the Salem-Keizer School District. Ultimately, I believe that it's essential for the school board to prioritize student voices and perspectives in order to create a more positive and equitable learning environment for all students, regardless of their background. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. And now I will call up Linda Pappas. And you do have to push the button while you speak. It's kind of funny. And then I'll just do a quick reminder to speak slowly for our ASL interpreter and our Spanish language interpreters.
Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Pappas, and I'm currently a junior from North Salem High School. To answer the question, I think it is important to answer why I'm passionate and why I'm eager to even be considered for this position. So I have attended North since my freshman year, and I have noticed that North is a predominantly Hispanic school, and that is really important to me because there's so many resources I feel like students within our school aren't aware of currently. And I feel like they don't feel like they have a sense of community. And that is something that really drives my passion and my motivation for wanting to represent students and their voices, because I want to create unity and I want to make sure that students within North and the whole school district feel heard. Because I feel like high school is such a scary time for students, but it is also the time where they will find vital skills for themselves and learn and grow. The way I feel I will be able to represent students in our district is because I have had multiple opportunities within my own school to hear students' perspective and to learn what students need and what our school is currently lacking. Currently, I hold an ASB position of multicultural officer at North Salem, where I have organized and planned and communicated with clubs to organize a multicultural week and assembly, and to make sure that our school is being inclusive and including everyone and that everyone feels represented. I'm also currently working on a student-directed newspaper. That way students have access to information within our school and also are aware of the resources that they know. And because of this, I have been able to gain vital communication skills and relationships with those around me and those in my school. And due to this, I feel as though I'm really good at communicating and really passionate about creating change and unity and a sense of belonging for a school. And I think my passion is what drives me and will also make sure that I'm able to represent students and communicate with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have your fan club right here, and Isaac and Raylin.
All right, and Tierney Pickett.
Yeah. Snap.
Welcome. And you have to, push the button. Kind of awkward.
Hi, my name is Tierney Pickett, and I'm currently a junior at Sprague High School. And I also wanted to start with saying how excited I am to have the opportunity to create an impact in the Salem-Keizer School District. I feel like I am prepared for this position because I have experience in leading others and representing others. I am currently the editor of Sprague's yearbook, The Odyssey. And being in that position, I have learned to communicate with people on all sorts of levels. I've learned to communicate better with my peers, my staff, and administration at my school. And that is a skill that I think is vital to have in order to be able to represent all students in our school district. And I'm also on the student equity team in both Sprague and the district. And being in those positions has taught me how to see problems within our schools and fix them. I really want to focus on mental health because I feel like our sense of belonging in the district has gone down significantly, and it is a really big problem. And mental health impacts the way that we learn and social aspects of our lives, especially as teenagers. It's very important to focus on mental health. And as a student with anxiety, I feel like I connect with other students better, and I have an increased sense of awareness due to it. And I notice problems really well within our schools that I really want to fix. And I really want this opportunity to work out So I really think that I can represent students well because I have increased skills in communication, and I want to make sure that I feel like I can represent students from a variety of backgrounds. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all three of you for applying for this role. I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but Each year, our board appoints a student advisor or advisors to the school board. And these positions are critical to us because they really provide that student voice. Both Raylan and Isaac have been amazing this school year in bringing that voice to us and really informing and guiding some of our most important decisions. So the application process for student advisor for this coming school year opened in March, and then it closed on April 20th. And these were the 3 students who applied for the position. Their applications are included in the packet that's posted online. And we have reviewed the applications tonight, where the interviews, and then we will make a decision at the June meeting. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Patrick, for being online.
And we'll let you stay if you want. School board members' meetings are really fun, but you don't
Yes.
have to. You don't have to if you have other things.
Okay.
No, I'll be back to stay.
All right. Next. Yeah, let's clap.
Thank you, Ray.
I agree. Thank you so much. And nice job. Okay, that takes us to our action items this evening. The first one is 8A, the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month Proclamation. I will turn it to Superintendent Perry to see if there's a review for this item.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask a quick question. Are we reading the proclamations, or are you just having people do a summary of the proclamations? And I'll limit my comments if you're reading.
Whatever the consensus of the board is.
Okay.
I would prefer we read the proclamation.
Okay, great.
So community can follow along for those who may not be able to read.
Okay, great. Then we will do that. Go ahead, Superintendent Perry.
Yeah, then I'll just let, since you're going to read, rather than doing a high-level overview, I'll turn it back over to you to have
Okay.
a motion.
I would like to turn it over to Director Chandra Giri for the intro and/or reading of the proclamation.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to read this proclamation, and during the discussion, I can share my thoughts. Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month Proclamation. Whereas Salem-Keizer Public Schools recognizes the federal Asian Pacific American Council's role to educate the public about the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities, and celebrate this year's theme of advancing leaders through opportunity. And whereas SKPS recognizes that despite the month being Asian American, Hawaiian Native, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, these are distinct groups and deserve equal representation. Although characterized together, they have their own classifications and cultures, and whereas Asia Pacific encompasses all 48 countries of the Asian continent, and the Pacific Islands of 15 countries and 3 subregions that include Melanesia, 2,000 islands, Micronesia, 2,000 islands, and Polynesia, 1,000 islands, and whereas traders from the Asia Pacific region reached North America as early as the 16th century, but the first significant wave of immigration began during the late 1800s, and whereas Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have played a significant role in America's history with their enormous contribution to science, arts, industry, government, and commerce, and whereas the people of the Compact of Free Association, COFA Island nations, have moved to U.S., with especially the Marshallese and Chukis population growing exponentially in the Salem-Keizer area, and whereas more than 2,000 students identify as Asian, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander, and whereas SKPS within Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates all its students, including the students who identify as LGBTQ+, and those who are first-gen, low-income FGLI And whereas in Salem-Keizer Public Schools, 68 employees identify as Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and 147 identify as Asian. And whereas SKPS provides resources to directly support continued achievement growth for Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students, including language services support for our two largest student groups of Chukis and Marshallese, and whereas SKPS is committed to expanding employment and career opportunities for advancement of historically underserved populations, and whereas SKPS condemns harassment and violence against the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities across the country, and supports learning about the rich cultures, histories, and contribution of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander students and staff to foster safe and welcoming school environments for all community members. Now, therefore, the Salem-Keizer Public Schools Board of Directors proclaim May 2023 to be Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and invites our community to join in celebrating our students and staff of Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander heritage, and in making this period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all people.
Thank you very much, Director Chandragiri. I would ask for a motion.
I'll motion that we approve the proclamation as is.
Great.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there discussion on the proclamation? Director Hyen.
So this month is really hard. You know, I made a statement at the beginning of the school year that I would not be voting in favor of any proclamations that were in favor of specific groups because we leave people out. This one's hard. I even talked it over with my son, who is Khmer, Cambodian, for those of you who don't know what Khmer is, who I love deeply. But because of people we leave out, I will be abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Chandragiri.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. It's a huge part of the population, you know, so it's very diverse and culturally. In the course of, even in Salem-Keizer, we have a lot of Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities living here, whether it is Sikh temple or the Marshallese and Chukis family. I had the fortune of kind of spending some time and, you know, connecting with our Pacific Islander communities. And I really appreciate that they invited me to sit down with them and share in the same space, and got to listen to them at a much more in-depth level, a summary of which I have sent it to our board leadership and superintendent about that. I specifically want to thank ERCO, Immigration and Refugee Community Organization. This is an organization that, through a contract with Oregon Department of Education, has been really doing a wonderful job in helping us connect and understand the communities at a much more in-depth level. My hope is if we can all join together and with Superintendent advocate for this organization's contract with Oregon Department of Education be extended so that they can continue the good work and continue to address some of the equity gaps that needs urgent attention. So I just would like to kind of bring that up again, because right now the community is very nervous if the contract with OD will end with ERCO and they will not be in a position to continue to serve this community. So from an equity lens, I think I would really advocate that we all talk to ODE or write to ODE and also make provisions for it to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Chandragiri. Director Inohos-Pressy.
Thank you, Chair Carson Cottingham. I just wanted to make sure that as we're highlighting this month and this important proclamation, I also wanted to just call attention on why May is identified as commemorating AAPI heritage. And it's due to a couple of key dates, one of them being May 7th, 1843, marking the arrival of first Japanese immigrants to the United States, and May 10th, 1869, recognizing the completion of the first transcontinental railroad in the U.S., which had significant contributions from Chinese workers. Our country is built on the backs of immigrants, and it's important that we highlight them in every opportunity that we can, particularly our AAPI community that has faced an increase in hate and rhetoric of violence towards them. And I am really glad that we specifically call out the condemnation of harassment and violence against our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities across the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, great. With that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And all those abstaining, raise your hand. Thank you.
Aye.
Director Hines abstaining. Everyone else who is present voted in favor of the proclamation. All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll move to B, which is to approve the Teacher Appreciation Month proclamation. Superintendent Perry, do you have a review for this item?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to our teachers who we've talked a lot about what they do on behalf of our kids. And as we've come out of the pandemic, that's become even more important than ever. And you think about all the things the students said about well-being, mental health, all of our counselors and social workers are on the front lines, but really our classroom teachers are part of that collective of people who really show up in big, important ways for our kids, not only academically, but socially as well. So with that, I would, of course, recommend approval, but I'll turn it back to you, Chair Carson Cottingham.
Great, thank you. And I failed to mention on the last proclamation, the one we just passed, I wanted to thank the district, in particular Kathleen Jonathan and Caleb Roberts, for all of your work in putting all of that information together. Really well done. So I will read the proclamation for Teacher All Educators Appreciation Week. Whereas education is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas teachers and licensed specialists, all educators, mold future leaders through guidance and education, and whereas this continues to be a challenging time to be an educator in the history of public education, with educators committed to meeting so many continued and emerging needs of our students, including the mental health needs of our students. And whereas educators embrace students of widely differing backgrounds, helping students connect to emotional and social supports, and whereas our educators are committed to stopping at nothing to remove barriers to high-quality education for all our 40,000 students, and whereas our country's future depends on providing quality education to all students and helping them to feel a sense of belonging, regardless of race, ethnicities, cultures, genders, personal beliefs, and family values. And whereas educators spend many hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our educators are committed to student learning and high academic achievement for all students, regardless of the challenges that occur in our community or country, and whereas educators have embraced the changing times, ups and downs as we emerged from the pandemic, and our students' needs became increasingly complex, and whereas our educators go beyond academic teaching to provide social and emotional learning and support the whole child, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its educators and specialists in educating the children of Salem and Keizer. Now, therefore, the Salem-Keizer School District Board of Directors proclaims May 8th through 12th, 2023 to be Teacher All Educators Appreciation Week and encourages all members of our community to join with the board in personally expressing appreciation to all our educators for their dedication and devotion to their work. So with that, I would take a motion.
I would like to.
Okay, Director Chandragiri has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Hyen has made the second. And is there discussion? Director Hyen.
Yes, this one I'm going to be in favor of. It's kind of like hands are not for hurting. Teachers are important to every single student in our district, and I know their work is hard, and I just want them to know that they are very much appreciated.
Thank you. Others? Director Avila?
Yeah, I'd just like to voice the admiration I have for teachers and all educators. It's a commitment to improve the lives of others and the impact that they have, transformational changes that they have. So I really appreciate that you do every day, 24/7 almost, because teaching is an ongoing daily battle.
Thank you. Director Chandragiri.
Thank you, teachers. And, as parents, we bring our little kids with little brains to you. And 12 years later, you kind of help them blossom and become amazing citizens. And that miracle is possible because of what you do day in and day out. And even with all that we went through, the perfect storm, you stayed with them. You were there for them. You didn't forsake our children. For that, I'm grateful. And, you deserve safe schools. You deserve all our community's respect and gratitude. And may God's blessings be with you and all your family. Thank you for what you do. So I will be supporting this proclamation, but I'll be praying for all of you on a daily basis. Thank you.
Director Hinojosa-Presi.
I just wanted to add that while we have designated this specific week as Teacher Appreciation Week, I hope that we can uplift and appreciate all of our educators all of the time, and particularly in some schools that might have celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week last week. And no, that's not a personal thing, maybe.
Isaac.
Yeah, I think it's because Teacher Appreciation Day was last week, and then it's like the week this week.
Well,
That's what I heard.
Principal Appreciation Day last week.
Huh. And I'd also encourage all the seniors and juniors who are going to leave this year to take some time to acknowledge the teachers that have gotten them to the finish line. And because I think that will go a long way, and you don't want to leave here without acknowledging the people who propelled you to the heights that you are at.
Thank you.
That's a perfect segue. Thank you, Isaac. I wanted to express gratitude for all of the educators in our district, and I always think back to those very same educators, right, that had a very important and meaningful impact in my life. I could perhaps name every single teacher I had since at least first grade, and had really meaningful relationships in high school who encouraged me to make it through. And I'm sure that every one of us sitting up here can think of at least one example. Educators are cheerleaders, supporters. I mean, they see the best in students, right? Sometimes you don't see something in yourself, and they will extract it from you in the most loving and caring way, and sometimes maybe with a little bit of a push or a nudge. But it's just such important work, and I come from a family of educators myself, having a family in Mexico and family here. I have family members in the district as well who are educators. I've shared that before. So it's an important role, and it's a heavy one, as Director Avila said. And there's just no words that can really express the depth of gratitude that I feel for the role, for the profession. And I think there is that too, right, to recognize that it is a very important and necessary profession. And we are still in the works, I'd say, across the nation, and to continue to elevate the role, the work, and just know that you are valued.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure I could add much more, but. Oh, okay. I didn't see your hand. Sorry, Director Salazar. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
That's why he was muted, because he would forget.
Yep.
Oh, no, he
Okay. I just want to echo what has already been said in regards to teachers being a key component of an individual's life in carrying on in the future of what they will become. And I know that both as an educator, I've seen so many kids that I've been able to come in contact with and see them as struggling either at a particular level and overcome those and become outstanding members of the community because of the impact that a teacher's had upon them. And I think every day those teachers come to work tired, not only with their own issues with family, but also with previous issues, and that is now occurring in our nation. And to see them be able to rise to the occasion is something that I truly feel that they are and receive my admiration for that. So, yeah, this is a well-deserved proclamation.
Thank you, Director Salazar. I'll just add my gratitude as well. Our teachers in this district and all educators are incredible. I know there's a lot of negativity thrown about constantly around our public schools and lack of focus on rigorous academics, and you just hear so much. And I can tell you that firsthand, every school I've visited, every educator I've talked to are highly focused on academics and rigor and also social and emotional well-being, and they want the best for the kids of Salem-Keizer, and it is readily apparent the minute you walk into any school across the district. And so I am grateful to them. As a board, I think we want to do everything we can to support our educators and continue to provide every bit of resource we have so that they can be successful. And just you all are doing the work that helps build the foundation for a strong, thriving economy and democracy. And we wouldn't be the community we are without our public schools and our educators. So thank you. With that, I would ask for a vote. All those in favor, say aye. And raise your hand.
Aye.
Two hands.
Two hands for the educators. We can't vote twice, though. Okay. All right. I think that it is unanimous. We have passed the All Educators Appreciation Week proclamation. Yay. All right. Let's see here. Next, we have item 8C, which is also an action item to vote on. I'm going to not say the name right. Korat Anna Ali as the Zone 4 representative on the Willamette Education Service District Board of Directors. We invited Anna Ali to join us this evening or provide a written statement. However, she had a schedule conflict and was unable to attend. She wanted to convey this. Quote, I am honored to serve another term on the Willamette Education Service District Board, and I look forward to revisiting future collaborative opportunities with the Salem-Keizer Board. So with that, I would take a motion.
I move that we approve Anna Ali as the Zone 4 representative on the WESD Board of Directors.
Thank you, First Vice Chair. And is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, thank you, Director Avila. Is there any discussion on this item? Director Hyen.
Yeah, I actually have a question for the superintendent. I think I know the answer, but I wanted to clarify. we don't actually, as a district, we don't actually use Willamette ESD. Is that correct?
Almost. The bulk of the bulk of what we do is take our money that goes to Willamette ESD and is transferred to us. There are some services, some of our early childhood, special education, early intervention services, and a few other things we use through them. So, but the bulk of what we do is take our money and use it to buy our own people for things like speech and language pathologists and things like that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. With that, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is unanimous. We have voted to put Ms. Ali as the Zone 4 representative. Great. Congratulations. And that takes us to our consent calendar. Superintendent Perry, do you wish to review any of the items on the consent agenda?
Yeah, just a quick note on the personnel actions. This is the time of year we see these begin to get longer because we have people retiring, we have people moving into different positions, and then we're hiring. So these will get longer and longer as we get into June and then into next year, especially of the hiring there. We're a little later on hiring because we're in the middle of doing some transfers as a result of staffing shifts. So, but you'll see those click up in the next month.
Okay. Does any board member wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? Director Hyen.
I just wanted to make a comment, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In keeping with my prior normal, I've been skipping lately, and I only have 2 months left. So I just wanted to point out that there were approximately 31 resignations this month. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, Director Hyen has seconded. And all those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, it is unanimous. We have passed the consent calendar. All right, that takes us to number 10, which is the readings and discussion part of our agenda. And we have resolution number 202223-5, Climate Justice Resolution. And I need to pull up this part of my agenda. Okay, so this project started in December of 2021 with the inspiration that in order to create change and for awareness to truly occur, a widespread communication of climate change's effects on educational opportunities needs to be created. This resolution was created with the help of many community members and leaders from a variety of backgrounds and organizations who contributed key ideas to help make this resolution feasible. Climate change will continue to affect us greatly, and this resolution is key to allowing and creating spaces for students to not only learn about climate change and its effects, but also create spaces to generate solutions. This resolution hopes to bring forth this issue so students can adequately learn about climate change in class, as well as create school communities that prioritize sustainability and climate action, and so that educational opportunities related to climate justice can be offered to all. We are doing a first reading this evening, and so I won't read the entire resolution out loud, but we do hope that this will pass at the next meeting, or the June meeting is when we would bring it up for a vote. And we hope that by passing this resolution, we can be a catalyst for other Oregon districts to follow suit, and hopefully districts across the nation. So every student deserves the right to know what's happening to their home, as well as the right to have the space to generate solutions. So because this is a first reading, we are still open to input, ideas. I know Director Chandra Giri provided some feedback and ideas in email today. I'm hoping our student advisors might get some feedback from some of the student groups that exist in our schools in case we've not incorporated all of that. I know some of them have been consulted already. And that we can work anything in so that we can bring this up for a vote in June. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion. Director Hyen.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, I have a few comments to make, and I'm hoping that we can have some good logical discussions about this. But I'm going to read you what I wrote earlier today. You know, I love this world that we live in, and I do whatever I can to be responsible about resources, including recycling, reusing, and repurposing. Unfortunately, we are being pushed in a direction in the name of environment and environmental justice that we are not really ready to maintain. California telling people not to charge their electric cars should be a big red flag to the rest of us that we are currently just not ready. We don't have the infrastructure. The infrastructure must be in place before mandating changes that cannot be sustained. Wind turbines, I see those every time I make a trip to Idaho. And what happens to those giant wind turbines once their lifespan is over? They go into a landfill. What type of resources are required to make them? How many birds are killed by them each year? And how is that kind to the environment? A 2 megawatt wind turbine weighs 1,688 tons, uses 1,300 tons of concrete, 295 tons of steel, 45 tons of iron, 24 tons of fiberglass, 4 tons of copper, 4 tons of neodymium, and 0.065 tons of dysprosium, and more. Many of these things need to be mined, and these wind turbines are not recyclable. Again, they will end up in a landfill. Solar panels, which I have on my house, and that's how we're going to have electricity in Idaho. I love solar panels. But yet, what is the energy cost to produce these? What chemicals are involved? And what risk does this pose to the people who make them? My understanding is that these will need to join the wind turbines in the landfill when their life is over. And finally, lithium batteries. They're wonderful. Lithium batteries, they're the things that allow us to charge our cell phones over and over again without them overheating. And they are what allows us to have electric cars and electric school buses. An important part of these rechargeable batteries is called cobalt, and it takes 1,000 times more cobalt for an electric car battery than for your cell phone. How much more for a school bus? I don't know. Most of the cobalt comes from the Congo, where women and children mine this material for about $1 a day. Uranium, think radiation, because uranium is often found in the mines with cobalt. Many of these workers have no protective gear. They are touching these materials with their bare hands. I'm talking to children here, people. They work in horrendous conditions. It's called artisanal mining. Sounds nice, but I promise you it is dangerous and horrible. These conditions have been equated to those of mining for blood diamonds. How is this justice? Certainly, we must move forward with protecting our environment. That means all countries, not just some, but we need to look at this logically and realistically. Let's not put the cart before the horse. And for those of you who do not understand that figure of speech, that means there's a proper order of things, and let's hopefully make sure that we do that and come up with some solutions that actually make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hyen. Student Advisor Brennan.
So I want to first iterate that I agree with some of what Marty said, or Director Hyen said, about how certain effects of clean, like what we describe as clean energy, isn't always clean and isn't always effective. However, I do think that it's the
building up to being able to get it completely clean, and we have to take small steps in order to achieve this. But I also think that it's a lesser of two evils, because whereas we could either start doing the progress to slowly make changes to be able to provide a better environment for students to learn in and a more sustainable environment for students to learn in, or we can stay in the past and we can make it so it's not a sustainable environment for students to live in.
Thank you. Student Advisor McDonald.
Yeah, I'd like to refocus the conversation on the climate resolution at hand and schools, and just kind of highlight the work of the students and the student group who got this resolution to the board. And I think they brought this here because they understand, and students and teachers understand the space that climate change takes up in the minds of our generation. And so as a system that serves 42,000 students, it would be irresponsible to not recognize this, this climate problem and the shifts that everybody needs to make to help solve it. And I reviewed the resolution, and it seems pretty simple in that it instructs a committee of students to assist the school district in thinking about how we can make our school system more sustainable. And so, I mean, that seems pretty plain and simple to me. And I know before this resolution and in years past, there have been students group who have already been doing this work and have been having great success. And I see it all the time because this is something that just students feel deeply and students understand. And so I just see this as a formalization of collaboration between students and the district, and an acknowledgement of the district to students, which I think will go a long way.
Thank you very much. Director Avila.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more with our two student advisors as well. And earlier we heard how this resolution is they don't see that connection of educating our students and what making an impact and taking action for our students. And I think to Isaac's points, to reiterate or to kind of in almost explaining why the need to focus the work, which is going back to the exact language here, that we would direct the superintendent to establish a climate crisis committee to develop recommendations for taking action on climate change that are within the purview of the district. I think that's just key, the purview of the district, and not, you know, and then bringing that action where students can learn about all the facts or statements that Director Hyen made. They can learn about that. So providing this type of action and creating actionable items for our students to actually elevate the ongoing work is going to be, I think, very effective and efficient way for students to continue to learn just the educational opportunities that they need to be considerate of, the changes, taking care of the next generation, action now, being proactive instead of reactive when we have the opportunity, the type of careers, inspiration it can bring forth with opportunities of exposure, right? Having them become advocates, build independence, renewable energies and others, as Director Hyen had mentioned, recycling and repurposing. So I really appreciate the students who brought this forward and the district bringing it forth as well and incorporating to meet the needs of our Salem-Keizer community.
Thank you. Director Chandragiri.
Thank you, Chair. And I sent you a little summary, and you may kindly share it with the rest of the board. You know, this is an important topic. You know, we had a student from South Salem. His name is Mihir Joshi. He's a senior. He came to our Zenzali STEM mentoring program and gave a presentation on how he used data science in developing a predictive model for early identification of algae growth in Detroit Lake. He could almost predict it by 2 days when the growth is there. You know, as Salem, we faced some water shortage because of that. that is an example of how we can think of using this topic. So COVID-19 also exposed the shortcoming of global cooperation. Addressing climate justice requires us to think globally but act locally, and that's where our students can play a huge role. Simply blaming does not solve problems, actions solve problems. The way I see climate justice can occur only when we provide high-quality STEM education starting from K-12. Our Salem-Keizer school should be intentional in nurturing culturally responsive STEM pipelines to mitigate pandemic and climate change-related economic and other inequities. Inspire our children to be future leaders in STEM fields who value local adaptive solution yet appreciate global stewardship and can pursue greener, sustainable, high-demand, high-wage career. And economic, geopolitical, public health, and societal fractures which increases after every pandemic in the planet, risks leading to divergent and delayed approach to critical challenges facing people and planet in many areas, including green transition to climate change and climate migration, or even protecting our space. There are a couple of things. This is a very complex topic with multiple factions. In the next 10 years, the World Economic Forum predicts that climate action failure, extreme weather, biodiversity loss, social cohesion erosion, livelihood, etc. is going to be affected. We saw a lot of it in our own community with the forest fires. I see we can strengthen this resolution by specifically calling out, starting from K-12, at all grade levels, education must address climate issues using high-quality STEM education, include ways to sustainably protect climate and disaster-resilient water, sanitation, hygiene, ways to reduce air, soil, water pollution, climate disaster, and smart health services, and including disaster-smart food systems and diet. We can take advantage of our diverse student body and think in terms of cross-cultural children-to-children connection and project-based learning to mitigate some of the global risks to societal scarring caused by social cohesion that has gotten eroded, livelihood crisis or mental health deterioration, and teach the needed cooperation to address global challenges in our own little way so that we can take care of this. And the district must go beyond the solution and allocate needed budget and resources, provide professional development for our educators and staff, offer high-quality tutoring and mentoring for students in STEM fields related to climate stewardship. We need to have that along with this committee. Having just a committee without budgetary allocation or an intentional way of ensuring our STEM education or added support will only get more frustrated young generation, because I really feel we are not harnessing the full potential of our student body. So that's why with these suggestions would be kindly considered in this so that we can really be intentional and serious about this, as we don't have much time.
Thank you, Director Chandagiri. It sounds like you have a lot of ideas for the committee. Okay, any other feedback for tonight? People are welcome to bring more ideas forward. We have about a month until this will come back up. Of course, we'd love to hear from you sooner rather than later if there's things we need to incorporate. But yeah, I mean, this basically establishes the Climate Crisis Committee, which in my understanding is very focused on student ideas and voice and recommendations to our board and district with budget implications, feasibility sort of information that the district staff would help that student group to, create documents that we would know what we're looking at moving forward. And of course, the board could weigh in or visit with that group or bring them in, but only things within the district's purview for that group to be formally established. Director Chandagiri.
So if there is some kind of clarification in terms of, is this like an advisory committee or is it a limited time duration committee? Is it going to be a standing committee? Who is going to be in this committee in addition to students? all those things have to be worked out between now and bringing it, because the
Yeah,
way we
we
vote
can-
on that will depend on having some clarity. Is it a committee with some authority, or is it just a committee which will
the
not have
word-
any authority for budgetary implications or curriculum
A
choices?
committee does not have budget authority, no.
So can they
So we
make a
can answer that here.
recommendation and hold us accountable?
No, but they can make recommendations to the district and the board. It says right here in the words of the resolution. If we don't have to have all of those details worked out to pass a resolution at the school board level. But I think we can work from now until next month on answering some of those questions to the fullest extent possible. Any other comments? Okay, so try to get us those comments and questions soon. I will circulate all of your ideas, Director Chandragiri, to the rest of the board. Anything else for the good of the order on this agenda item? All right, then we will move on to 11, which is information and standard reports. Superintendent Perry.
All right, so I just wanted to highlight a couple things in the monthly monitoring report. And as we're getting to the end of the year, where you can start to see what some of those 5-year trend lines look like. And I think it might be nice for us to think about, maybe even in June, once school's out, kind of what does the data tell us? So it's easy to put things in month after month, but if you don't look at where we've been and where we're headed. So I want to just do a couple highlights. I'm going to start on page 4, and this is going to be high level. But if you look at on page 4, our elementary major discipline incidents, you can see that last year our elementary kids were fairly dysregulated. And so there were quite a few incidents of physical altercations, even though they were minor. And you can see that as of where we are right now, that number's really dropped. That just means that our systems are working, not that we're not holding kids accountable. It's our systems are beginning to work. There are some physical fight things that are up, but again, that's only 12. And if you look at year over year for the grand total for elementary, 751 last year to 139. So just a real difference in tighter systems where we think has really helped at the elementary level. So that's one set of data. And again, we'll have year-end data. I don't know if we'll have it by June, but we'll by the end of June, hopefully. Middle school level is the area where we should pay a lot of attention. We have added all kinds of supports. Trying to have really structured environments, and it's where we still see lots of dysregulation of kids. And I think if we looked at our middle level, and some of that panorama data, it might also align here. So I think that looking at both sets of data could be super interesting, and I think that might be a great focus area for the Safe and Welcoming Schools Committee. Even though our schools and our educators have done a really good job about tightening up policy, and even something as simple as not allowing cell phones at middle level, I think has made the difference. But if you still look at technology misuse at the middle level, so these are 12, 13, 14-year-olds who we've doubled the technology use, misuse. And that's only what's happening in schools. So again, it's a really important point that use of technology and social media as it comes into the school environment is really a disruption. So I think if I were making a recommendation, that would be a really important area to focus next year. But again, we'll come back at the end of the year with that. And then the high school, again, we're kind of leveling out at the high school. We have about the same number of incidences. We have fewer fights this year. What I'll tell you, though, is the community for our high schoolers is a really hard place. So lots of things happening in our community. The good news is we're doing a really good job of not of those not coming into the school. We have shifted some of our safety resources to begin working on gang prevention. As a community, we do not have a gang prevention strategy, and while the district is one piece, the community has to be the other piece of a gang prevention strategy. So, but we're starting that. We feel really that it's important. If no one else is at the table, that we will be at the table. And so we've shifted that. But again, that's happening in the community, and at times will spill into schools. So those are just a few things to highlight. And again, I think really important for us to do is a deep dive into what could we do that's different and innovative at the middle level, because we're still seeing a lot of dysregulation there. Our elementary systems, our kids are coming out of the pandemic differently, but they're also younger. So that's just some quick highlights of things to look at, and maybe an area of focus for our Safe and Welcoming Schools Committee. And then we'll come back with a more finalized report in June.
Quick question in terms
Thank
of
you.
clarity, if I may. For the technology misuse, can you define a little bit more what that entails? I think my mind went one place, and then as I heard you, I thought something else. So,
I'll let Ethan capitalize, but some of that is getting into the inappropriate technology in school. So using your computer device to access inappropriate content. We have filters on our systems, but kids are masterful about getting around the system. We also can see this with devices taken home, that the use of the devices at home, which don't always give a technology misuse violation. That's usually something that happens in school. But at home, the hours between 9 and 3 a.m. are fraught with misuse. I know.
9 p.m. and 3
3
a.m.
a.m., yeah, fraught with misuse of the technology because kids know how to get around our filters. And for Bob or Ethan, would you add anything to that?
No, that covers most of it. And also while they're in school, access via other devices that we don't have filtering control on.
Just a clarification. Is this for April? You're comparing April through all the years, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
Cumulative.
April across all the years. They're all
Yes.
April month of April.
Yes.
Yeah, every month that we do this report, it just it's to date and compares the last 5 years to date.
Great. Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, I'm not missing Bob's hand. Okay. All right. That takes us to board reports. So this is our time to share work from formal committee assignments and activities of the board related to youth programs and school district activities. And so we will just go down the line. We've been trying to limit our reports to about 2 minutes apiece. So I will start with Lucky Student Advisor McDonald.
I have no formal committee assignments to report, but just want to congratulate all of our seniors who are on the final stretch and the juniors who are graduating early, and just thank all especially the counselors and the teachers who are working really hard to get all those loose ends tied up and get the seniors across the finish line. A lot of great stuff happening just with all our schools. I think a lot of successes musically across all the schools, solo groups, athletic successes, and I never cover them all. So I know there's success out there. I want to acknowledge that, and then just reflecting on all the systems, groups, and people in our schools and in our school district and within the community that I just feel are really digging their feet in and trying to help students and staff and just really getting invested. I just want to acknowledge them as well. So nothing super formal, but that's what we got.
Thank you. Student Advisor Brennan?
I have to agree with Isaac for most of what he had said, and that it feels like we're just slowly ramping down to the end of the school year. And I know that we have a lot of activities that are doing their recruitment for next year. So like we've got dance teams who are doing their auditions for next year, and basketball who are going to be doing like summer programs. And so I want to acknowledge all the like teams that are going to be having stuff that goes on during the summer, because I don't feel like we always recognize that. And when it gets to this time of year, both because we recognize a lot of our seniors, but also like graduation's coming up. We got a little under a month, at least for us two, because June 8th, it seems so far away and so close. And so, yep, that's what I got.
Thank you. First Vice Chair, Noah Espressi.
First I wanted to start off with there's something super important coming up next week on May 16th. If folks aren't aware, it's the McKay Art Show. So I'm super excited to get to go check that out, and I hope that other folks will be able to attend as well. And on SCATs, so there's been a couple of interesting developments. The census has delineated the urban area, Salem urban area, not the urban growth boundary, to include Almsville now. So there's a conversation about whether or not Almsville will be added into the SCATs policy committee. And I do appreciate to the folks that all put in public comment for the Transportation Safety Action Plan. We received like over 600 comments. And also wanted to uplift that we are also still working on updating 2 transportation plans that are currently open for public comment through the 15th. One is the TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan, which is that we have about $20 million to spend over the next 6 years on transportation improvement in the area. And then there's also the MTP, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is a long-range look through 2050 in the Salem-Keizer region to meet anticipated transportation needs in a fiscally prudent way. So if people are interested in checking those out and providing comment, they are on the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments website. That's mwvcog.org. And public comment is open through May 15th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Second Vice Chair, Guzman Ortiz.
Well, Deputy Superintendent Udon Nata covered the Safe and Welcoming Schools Committee, so thank you, and reviewed those questions. Other than that, I got a handout with also Deputy Superintendent Udon Nata. Am I saying that right?
Udosinata, very close.
I have 2 years and I still don't have it right.
Just an U instead of U.
Udosinata.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Superintendent Perry at the Austin 3000, which was great, and loved seeing the kiddos run and be happy and be sweaty. And some of them looked amused at like, what did I just sign up for? Or what did my parents
Including your
sign up?
son.
Including my son, who was like super excited and thrilled to be there. And we pushed him to the finish line, and I had a family member ask, "Oh, is this your medal? You did the Awesome 3000," and he said it wasn't so awesome, only because he was so tired. But that was just such a joy. So thanks to everyone, all of the volunteers that were out there for that event, lots and lots of people, and to the families that showed up to support their kiddos and running through, and for that partnership. So that was definitely the highlight, and it was warm and sunny.
Yeah, and that we got one of our other board members, her kids participated, and they won first place in their like age range.
Yes.
So congrats to the
Yes,
Carson Cottingham.
yes. Got some runners.
They must have practiced running away.
They get it from their dad. Congrats, Chester and Beckley.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Guess I'll bring it to me. Just part of the legislation update, continue to work on the legislature continues to work on education bills. However, there's been some stalling, but we needed those bills to progress, so continue listening, continue to advocate as you can. But most importantly, I got to join Brush College Elementary in a fine dining experience hosted by Sodexo. So shout out to Sodexo, and appreciative of the opportunity to join these students. They were a hoot, and it was awesome the way that they would try to convince them or explain, you can't eat with your shoulders, you can't gargle, you can't throw food, you can't do this. It was just a blast, and I was able to take my daughter with me on Take Your Child to Work Day. So she joined us, and just had a fantastic time. So thank you for the district for providing that opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. It has been a busy time for me, but I really got to spend almost 2 hours sitting with the Pacific Islander community and children and students and family members. And I've also been meeting other communities. So that's very important. And I sent a summary to superintendent and our board leadership. This month is also Mental Health Awareness Month, May. And so I got to attend a conference, a national conference, and several schools all over the nation are going through some very difficult stories, similar story to us, all over the nation. Got to hear about what they are doing and what we can do. So, and it's so nice to hear that one of the slide presentation, Dr. Udo Sinata, was on mental health and all the resources that we are. It's very apt. I wish from next year onwards we can start having one mental health awareness month in the month of May, with that being the center everywhere. So with that, thank you very much for allowing me to share.
Of course. Director Hyen.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody that the McKay Ag students are still having a sale. I believe it goes through the end of May. So come out and get some great plants for your garden. They have flowers, they have vegetables, and just all sorts of things, and support our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Salazar? I'm not sure if he's still on. No?
Salazar, we miss you.
Okay. Well, if he comes back, I'll just do mine real quick. So we have now completed tribal consultation with Grand Ronde and Siletz, and thanks to our amazing staff within the district, we had really nice, meaningful consultation with both tribes. We're continuing to push forward with hopefully adopting some memoranda of understanding in the coming several months so that we have an even more formalized agreement between our governments. But there's lots of wonderful things that have been planned by all of our staff at the district in consultation with the tribes, and that work is ongoing, and I'm just appreciative I appreciate being included in the consultation process. Huge shout outs to, I think someone mentioned choir already, but yeah, there's some amazing things happening in choir. And as a former choir nerd and probably future choir nerd when I have more time, South Salem took first at the OSAA event. West Salem took second at the same competition, so woohoo, amazing. And then McKay went out to New York, I believe, their a cappella group on a wild card, and then took second nationally. So
I know.
we're gonna have to do like some
World class.
shout outs. We're gonna have to have the choirs come in.
I know. We tried. We tried really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So congrats to all of you. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of these choirs, and I was blown away. Amazing. And then we got to attend the AVID graduation ceremony. This is the best time of year when we get to start doing these graduation events. Everyone is so happy. The parents are so proud. The teachers are excited. But the AVID ceremony was so large, it had to be broken into 2 different events at South Salem Auditorium. And I'm just so proud of all those kids and the educators that they put the number up on the big screen behind us. Those kids, it's about 300 kids in AVID across the district, have received over $20 million in scholarships. $20 million. Like, my mind is blown. That, you know, a lot of full rides, I think Superintendent said, in that group. And we got to hear speakers from the high schools, you know, talk about their journey and what AVID did for them. Just so inspired. What a great event. We are still waiting for the May revenue forecast. And so on the legislative front, we still don't have news from the legislature about what our numbers are going to be for the state school fund. And so we're continuing as a district, and the people on the legislative policy committee for OSBA keep the pressure up, still advocating for that $10.3 billion number. That's what we all need. They're still at the $9.9 billion level, so that is a big gap, and why I think all the districts are feeling very stressed and, you know, pressed for resources. It's very real. If we don't get that 10.3, is very real impacts on the district, our educators, our students, and, you know, really our whole state. We are also pushing forward with some other legislative opportunities around some capital improvements around the aviation program, and also hopefully some supports for our highest need kids, as we spoke about in the last board meeting. And so those bills are now, or those requests are now in the Capital Construction Committee, and our fingers are crossed. We have some wonderful legislative champions around the Mid-Valley who are pushing on those for us, which would really benefit kids. Anything else you want to add on that front?
Yeah, we're just,
No?
now we have to keep our fingers crossed
Okay.
on that one. We're still have our community partners at the table, though, in the discussions on the day treatment center.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be, we'll look there, but we'll also continue to look for grants and stuff. We've identified property, and we have a contingency offer for 90 days due diligence on a piece of property for a day treatment center. And so that's moving, but it is contingent on, I think we need about $5 million to renovate. It's in great shape, so that seems like a lot of money, but it does need renovation and some new modulars and things if it's really going to be a comprehensive site. So we're close, and I'll keep updating you along the way on that.
I'll just close by saying also our incoming superintendent has been visiting for about a week per month leading up to her taking the reins, which is coming up quickly. And so just a shout out, I know there's going to be many kudos for Superintendent Perry in the coming couple of months, but I just want to thank you publicly for working so closely with the new superintendent to bring her on board, to get, you know, her all the details she needs so she can really hit the ground running. I know she's excited to do that, and without your support, it'd be really hard for her to do that come July. And I know you're spending a lot of time doing that, so thank you.
It's the right work. It's the right work in a transition.
Great. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Yes, go ahead, Raylan.
I did completely forget that it happened last week. I think last week that we had the faith leaders at Sprague, and I got to give a tour. And so I just thought that our conversations that we had were very well thought out, and were very good for conversation. So
Thank you. Thanks for that update. Appreciate it. All right. With that, we will adjourn. It is 8:33. Thank you.